Hello, wonderful listeners. Welcome back to this fun, crazy social commentary space, informative, educational space. I'm so happy to have you guys here. Merry Christmas. It's the 26th as I'm recording this of December. Lord, a lot has happened. And and I want to talk to you guys about something interesting, right? And I looked at my algorithm. The people who tune into my channels are from Canada, or from France, Poland, Finland, Ireland. The United States is where most of my listeners listen to, and it's weird because even in Canada, and it's weird because even as I'm trying to like process this idea that I want to talk to you about, I'm just like, are they gonna get it? Are they gonna understand? Are they? Is it something like? Because again, I don't know the demographic of the people who listens. I don't know if they're white, they're black, and everything. But from looking at the country profile, I'm just thinking, I'm like, how many people are gonna get this, right? But and this episode will like show how both of my identities as a Congolese and as an American conflict with each other, right? My identities as an African and as a Westerner conflict with each other, right? And but I hope that you'll be open-minded. You will try to learn something, and please, I always invite you to follow up, ask questions, comments, reach back, and everything. So let's talk. Today, I'm going to talk about spirituality, and I'm going to talk about it in a way, in an African way, and how some spiritual beliefs that are rooted in African cultures sometimes conflict with how I view things as a American, as a Westerner, and so on and so forth. So yesterday, my mother and I were talking, and the year is coming to an end. Is 5 days until the New Year's, and we're just talking about like things that we need to pray for, things that we need to ask God, and everything. Like in the African cultures, like one of our root rituals when we pray is to like cast away evil spirits and everything. And that is something I believe, even if you're white, you can understand that, because I've been around Europe. I've been to Italy, I've been in Greece, I've been to the Netherlands, Germany, Spain, whatever, right? People do believe in evil spirits, right? In Italy, they are accustomed to cast away spirits. If you go to the Czech Republic, right, during the holiday season, I believe they fast and everything. They carry sweet bread, and so there is there. I feel like it is a universal belief that there are evil spirits, right? And and I don't really know the depth of how different cultures, non-African cultures, believe in those like the depth of how evil spirits work in different cultures. But in African culture, somebody can curse you, right? Your family, like for example, your father has the right to like curse you, your aunties and everything, because they share blood, because they're your parents, they have authority over you. They can say something bad about your life and things are gonna happen to you, right? And as Western girl, I've always been like, why would you curse me if I don't even know you, right? Like, what the hell? Like, my family is my mom, my brother. Like, my mother would never cast a curse on her nieces and nephews and all of that. So how dare you would do that to me when you don't even know me, right? I've always had that attitude, and I think I've also like I've adopted sort of this like Western mindset of like, yeah, that's some like village shit. Like that's some stuff that happens in villages in Africa. Like that doesn't even make sense. You don't even know me, blah 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 blah. And And it conflicts with my African beliefs because, again, African were very community based, right? As a Christian, you are taught that, like, the power of death and life is in the tongue of somebody. Someone has power over you, right? In Congolese, we say that the person who's giving you something has more power because your hand is, the receiving hand is always below the giver's hand, right? So there's a lot of cultural aspects of things that I feel like my Western mind ignores. And I think it's interesting how, to some of us who are born to like African parents living in the West, we sometimes feel like we no longer have those cultural ties, right? So a lot of quote unquote archaic mindsets and behaviors feel like it does not apply to us, right? And I don't know if that's a good thing or if it's a bad thing, because does living in the West, does that remove somebody for, like, you know, because I was been like, I don't know my uncles, like, especially from my father's side. Even in my mother's side, I don't know those people. I met them when I went to Europe. I clashed with all of them. And so I was the newcomer in the family, right? Nobody knows me. Like, we know of each other, but you don't know me and I don't know you, right? So, like, our behaviors are different. We have different mindset. My cousins are there, right? They did not grow up like me. I did not grow up like them. I do not have, like, you know, the same, like, traditional ties to some of them and everything. So, like, I have no sense of, like, ties to them at all. Like, my aunt and uncle, like, I really don't. Like, in my mother's side of the family, I only considered one uncle to be my uncle, which is the one who lives in the Congo, because he's the one that has showed me, like, yes, I have not seen you, but you're my niece. I love you and everything. Like, this man prays for me. This man is like a father figure to me. When I'm down, I can talk to him. When I need prayer, when I need someone support me emotionally, like, this is the person that I go to, right? And I remember, like, when I graduated from college, he sent me money. And mind you, this man doesn't make a lot of money, but I think me being in America sending him money is right, that's expected, right? Because, again, America, Congo, like, America has more currency than Congo, right? In Congo, people work for months and they don't get paid, right? So, and I remember how he would be so thankful. Like, he would just be like, oh my God, you never seen me, but, you know, you help out and everything. When we don't have food, you send money and everything. And for me, I always feel like, but, you know, because, you know, it's easier for me to get it than it is for him to get it in the Congo and everything. And I pray, and it's funny because, like, now I'm realizing that I've never really seen the magnitude of what I was doing, right? Because in a way, it's like, I've never met this person. Like, the only ties that we have together is, like, knowing theoretically, like, he's my mother's brother and everything, but, like, seeing how he's been with my cousins who are orphans and everything told me that he has a good heart and everything. And so, like, you know, I never shied away from sending him things. You know, when I hear my mom be like, oh yeah, he needs this, he needs that, like, I'll be like, okay, when I get paid, I'll send him something, right? And just seeing how, like, you know, he's very appreciative and everything, I'm always like, nah, it's fine, blah 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 blah, right? But when I graduated and then he sent me money, or when my mother went to the Congo 2 years ago, he sent me the traditional African fabric and everything. That thing, like, that marks, like, a big thing for me. It's like, oh my God, like, you don't even have to do that for me. You don't even, like, you know, it's like, come on, you barely get paid. But the fact that, you know, you get appreciative when people go above and beyond to make you feel special, when you know that they're not coming from a place where they have a lot, right? So I'm very appreciative of this. And this is the only person in my mother's side of the family that I am close to, right? Who, like, in regards to my aunts and uncle, he's the only one that I consider an uncle that I have, like, that family ties to, right? With my cousins, like I have a brother. I used to be close to some of my cousins, but now I just feel like we've grown apart. We have different lives and everything. So I don't really feel close to anybody except for my uncle, his child, and my brother and my niece, right? But besides that, everybody is a distant family member. Like they have gone back to people that I know by name, but I don't know as people, right? So I've always been like, how would even that happen? Like, what kind of fuckery would you be under for you to cast a curse on me? You don't even know me, right? But after watching a lot of African movies and everything, I'm always like, people will hate you for anything. And I think in Africa, we relate it to bad spirits, we relate it to witchcraft. Whereas in the West, when I live, it happens too, right? You will see like somebody will just hurt you for no reason. I'm thinking about Shaquilla Robinson. You went on vacation with friends and then you come back dead. Like things like that happen. And I think in the West, we concluded as just like, well, you were amongst the wrong crowd and everything. But in African cultures, we're like, oh no, that's an evil spirit, right? Somebody cast bad stuff on you and everything. So when me and my mother was talking about things, and it's like, I've graduated 2 years ago and I've been doing like, I have not had a stable job. When I say stable, I don't mean like I've been doing odd jobs in the sense of like things that are bad, but like I've been a researcher, I've been doing this. So I've not had a full-time permanent employment in one specific place. I've been doing a lot of different things. And I haven't really been doing stuff in my field of studies, right? Because I studied international development, I studied political science and everything. So my goal was always work like to have a government job, be a diplomat, go to the UN, do a lot of stuff and blah, 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 blah. But I have not been doing that because I've been doing a lot of like, data analysis for this thing, data gathering for this person, data this, blah, 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 right? And then I've been teaching as well, right? And then so my mother was just talking about like, because I got an interview with the government a couple of weeks ago and everything. My mom was talking to me, was like, yeah, you know what, 2024, you need to be stable. You need to be like, you need to have like a permanent government job like you was wanted and everything. And you need to cast away bad spells. People may have said something about you. People may have like, wished something for you and everything. And, that's why maybe it's taking a long time. You need to bind away like, evil spirits and everything. As Christian, we do it in prayer. Different communities do it differently, right? In Italy, you wear the red pepper, the evil eye, stuff like that, blah, 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 blah. So she was talking. And for the first time, I actually digested everything she said, right? Because I think it's that Western privilege, right? Of being like, Mom, that's archaic. That I just see this in the movie. That does not apply to me. I don't live there and everything. But then I started thinking about just events. I started thinking about ways that maybe how some stuff have been delayed based on how people of what people have said about me and everything. And then I start like literally like for some reason last night when I was praying, everything just started like every bad word. And when I say bad word, I don't mean cusses like, fuck or whatever. But I mean like every time somebody said that, oh, you're not going to make it. Every time somebody said like, oh, this person has a better life than you. Which I told you guys a couple of times, my uncle said that to me when I was in Germany. Every time like, they've like, they've kind of scuffed when I told them what my dreams were. Every time a guy told me like I would never find something better than them. Every time, like, so I just started looking, I'm just like, oh my God, right? And then it was kind of interesting how like, for the first time in a while, I relied on those African beliefs, right? Those African spirituality beliefs that, oh my God, how come I haven't seen this? How come I've just brushed it off? I just, he said that because he's being bitter. How come I forgot that how come I forgot the power in words, right? Because again, as Christian, we'll say that, in French, la vie et la mort sont au pouvoir de la langue. In English, right? Life and death is in the power of the tongue, right? Somebody can speak to you. Someone can speak things to you, and things will happen because they are manifesting it with their hearts and everything, right? And then I started just thinking about stuff that my ex will say and everything, and I'm just like, oh my God, right? And it was just interesting. So I started praying. I started praying about it and everything, binding it by the Holy Ghost, by the fire of the Holy Ghost, and all of that. And it was just interesting. And then I remember yesterday I told my mother how God will have dreams, but it would not be dreams. It would be it is vivid things, right? So I remember a month ago when I was in DC, I was sleeping and there was a black silhouette who was coming to stuff my mouth. And I remember just being trying to fight with this silhouette, and it's I'm laying down, he's coming, this silhouette is behind me trying to put something in my mouth to stuff me, right? And I remember, and so I told my mom that. My mom was like, yeah, that's an evil spirit. I was like, of course I prayed about it, as a Christian we pray about everything and all that, but I just yesterday was just things were just going poof poof, things were just coming up in my head. I'm just how I never I never really thought of this idea, right? I never really thought about how detached I was based on my competing identities, how detached I was to believing, in those evil spirits, because I always thought it was an African thing, it was an archaic thing, that is the everyday, thing that, every African church will tell you about evil spirits and all of that. But I've always kind of labeled it, the hubris of it, right? Just labeled it oh no, that's an African thing. And it's and in those instances, I never saw myself as an African. It was just oh, that's them problem over there, right? That's those people problem. That's not my problem, because I'm not in that society. But feeling and realizing that, yes, regardless of my physical location or how we interpret things that happen here, someone poison you or somebody, we just be oh yeah, you were just hanging out with the wrong crowd. No, spirituality, they can be those are demonic stuff, right? Those are demonic things. And just, and it kind of reminded me of this idea, in African cultures, they talk about the night husband, the night wife, right? It's a spiritual thing where somebody can come in spirit and have sex with you and all of that, and then they have claimed you in the mystical world as theirs, and then in the physical world nothing that you do work, right? So when you date, it always end bad. When you go look for it, nothing in your physical life work out because somebody has claimed you in the spiritual world. They always come to visit you in the spiritual world, right? And I've always been how does that even happen? Right? And then because in the Western sense, we'd be oh yeah, we have wet dreams. We had you thought about somebody, or you were horny and stuff like that, so that's why you woke up wet and all that, right? So we were explaining that, but then it's now that I'm just shit. Damn, it's not just a wet dream. That's weird. You're not supposed to have sex in your sleep and everything, right? You're not supposed to wake up wet, even though you haven't, remembered somebody penetrating you and all that. That's weird, right? So I just started, and because I always had questions when I would see it in movies and be how does that even, how does the spirit know that I should go to this person and, and have her at nighttime, But yeah, guys. So I want to tell you, so I am, I think this is very interesting because I'm just as, it's funny how I connect and I detach to my African culture, because I'm just I sometimes forget, right? Because sometimes, again, when you're navigating into different cultures, sometimes you take what applies to you and what does not apply to you. But I am now very like, I feel like my eyes are just like, have reopened to the possibilities of just how things should not be just, they should not just be explained as like, bad person, you're surrounded by bad people and everything, but there are spiritual, demonic things. And now I'm feeling like, if nobody can make fun of Italians for the red peppers and all of that, like, why do Africans and African people who grew up in the West like me brush off those real spiritual beliefs because we deem it to be archaic, because from a Western perspective or a Western way of thinking, they're like, oh yeah, that's so archaic, that nobody does that and everything. Like, why do we, when everyone else can uphold their spiritual beliefs and all of that? So yeah, I hope this made sense. I feel like I'm rumbling because, again, as you can hear in my voice, like, I am trying to grapple with that, and I'm trying to like to really like understand more. Like, I feel like in the next couple of days I want to be like diving into my own life, looking at people, that like, thinking of how like words that people have said to me can have like demonic impacts on my life and everything, and how to kind of get rid of them. Because I'm just like, listen, I don't know y'all people, y'all cannot, and now to be honest, and I'm gonna oh, I'm being vulnerable right now. I've always been like, I would not sleep with somebody that I don't like, right? I've always been like, I'm not opening my legs to somebody like I cannot have a one night stand. I cannot have, like, to me that's a bit archaic, because for me, I just feel like your body is special, and whoever you give it to, you should know that person, right? So now that I'm trying to link this with this spirituality thing, I'm just like, imagine having somebody like dump their seed in you. You don't even know where they come from, where this, like, Lord, to be honest with you, I'm so scared. I feel like I should just go get a bath and just like, if there was a way to take like an eternal bath, I just feel like I would take it right now to just like, especially my ex, I remember for weeks and months, I used to be like, I don't know if I like this kid. I don't know if I like this kid. And I felt like when we were having sex, like, we're having sex again, like, before him, I did not have sex. And I guess, like, although my horny feelings of just being single and never having a man was the reason why I was having sex with him and everything, but it was never like, oh, I'm doing this because I like you. And I feel like after a while of seeing somebody, I think I've gotten used to him, but I don't think I've developed the feelings where I was like, where I loved him, right? Because every day he used to ask me that, like, do you love me? I'd be like, sure. Right? And I remember talking to my friends about, like, how do you know you like somebody? Like, I knew I cared. I have that nurturing things where, like, I can care for somebody that I don't really like, right? Because I can see the humanity in you. I can see the personhood, the man in you, the woman in you and everything. But now that I'm thinking about it, I'm just like, imagine having somebody that you don't really know what, like, their spirit and everything, and just having them dump this, like, that's a way. Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, like, I remember at church people being like, sex is the number one way, like, the devil can act and everything. And this man has said a lot of foul things to me. He has, his tribe in the Congo are known for, like, witchcraft and all of that. And he has said, like, he's like, oh yeah, I want to put you inside a bottle. That's a witchcraft shit. Like, that's what witchcraft people say. They'll be like, oh, I'll put you in a bottle. I remember when I broke up with him, he was like, oh yeah, watch. Like, he watch, like, I'm gonna be bigger than you. I'm gonna do this. Like, it was always like a competitive thing, and he was insecure. And for me, I was just like, oh yeah, that's just a man who's insecure. And I've never met a non-insecure man be like, oh yeah, watch, I'm gonna prove you this, I'm gonna prove you that, like I'm like, you will not find any better besides me, blah 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 blah. And I'm just like, so now that I'm being in tune with my African spiritual belief, I'm just like, that man was cursing me. That bastard was cursing me. And I'm just like, God, please give me an internal bath. I want, like, even it's been years since I've been with him, I'm just like, oh God, I just want to get, if there's leftover seed in my body, I just want to get it out, Jesus, out. But yeah, I hope you found this interesting. I'm gonna go pray again. I feel like I'm gonna do like a 3-day prayer and fasting just to purify my body, because now I am so freaked out. But okay, bye guys, talk to you later. Bye.